So this week we are going to be drawing hands and the skeletal structure of a skeleton. What I'm going to need you to do is either use yourself as a model with your hands. If no one in your house is willing to model for you, you can use a mirror or you can take photographs with your phone or camera. But if possible, it'd be best if you could get a mix of older and younger male and female. So as you see here, I've drawn my hand just laying here on my sketchbook. I started with the bone structure underneath, and I think that's the best way. So often students want to draw the contour line first, but I like to lay out the actual knuckles in my fingers and in my thumb. So my thumb has two knuckles, and my fingers have three knuckles, but there's also bones in my palm for each of them, and so that allows the kind of the flexibility to clench my hand and make any kind of gesture as possible. But as you see here, I've been working in charcoal, and I just keep layering and darkening and darkening. But I've done all of my lines kind of in the direction of a cross contour to show the form and also kind of show the dark and the light. And so, the hand is really an effective means for conveying, emotional and instinctive gestures. Here the hand is kind of like leading you towards the corner of the page, kind of leading you into the rest of this demo. So your homework this week is to draw four hands in cross contour and four hands in value tonal ranges from black to white. So this first one is I'm going to show you is essentially foreshortened hand coming towards me. I photographed this with my phone. Um, and once you've kind of gained confidence with like really easy gestures, like flat hand, I suggest that you look at hands coming towards you or kind of hands looking farther away from you. And don't be put off if this seems difficult at first because it's going to look odd, but you're going to have to just kind of practice with it. But notice how the tips of my fingers are actually much bigger because they're much closer to your eye, showing that perspective. So here I'm doing the cross contour, and now I'm adding the contour really nice and dark, kind of make it look like what you would see in the kind of a more animation, the cartoon style. This next one I'll do with graphite, just a regular HB pencil, and I'll use a 6B pencil. And here again, this is foreshortened, um, of my finger pointing directly towards you. And it's going to look kind of odd because it doesn't look how we want to imagine or how we believe a finger looks pointing towards us, right? Because we always kind of turn the finger profile, whereas here you're actually looking at something a little bit more abstract and less literal of a finger pointing towards you. It's I guess in a way that you don't necessarily think about, and so this is going to take some time really observing and visualizing this. And when I say observe, I want you to think of first observing the main structure of the bones underneath, and then consider the veins, consider the flesh, building the muscle on top of that, and the skin covering all of that, holding everything together. So this next one I'm going to show you is clenched fist, and so I started this one out with very straight lines, kind of made boxes or rectangles, uh, and to kind of fit it all in, lay it all in, figure out how to get my thumb over top of my clenched curled fingers. And then this last one I'm going to show you kind of with that open palm, but my fingers kind of in the background, my thumb is a little closer in the foreground. Doing this one in graphite. And that first knuckle of my hands, I'm going to have it kind of curved upward, but that last knuckle, I'm going to make that curve down, and that's going to show that shape of the hand kind of making a gripping motion. And so here you have all these cross contour. I even throw a little shadow in the cross contour. Doing both vertical and kind of the horizontal lines. But also with the hands, I'm letting it be a little bit more organic, and so I'm having diagonal lines, creating that grid over the palm. That kind of, just kind of how you imagine and feel. You have to imagine that you're kind of like a sculptor, but you're not working with clay. You're working with dark and light, and how you can add and remove darkness, and how you can add light and remove light, um, is really kind of what you have to play with to create the illusion of this three-dimensional form. So here I am drawing a female hand. Female hands tend to be a little bit more delicate, a little slender, more slender, and so I suggest that you try a mix of trying to get a guy and a female to pose for you, um, and so you get a little bit of practice of variety. Here you've also got two fingers pointing straight out, whereas the thumb and the ring finger and the pinky are kind of coming together over top of the palm. So you have to kind of navigate how to play that through. I'm coming in now, darkening up the actual contour lines, but also adding these creases in the palm, kind of gives more shape and a little bit more character to the hand as well. So now kind of adding in this ring, and kind of coming in, cleaning it up, adding highlights and bringing those highlights out, kind of cleaning up some of those cross contour lines, completely removing them to show highlights. And so here it is. I feel like it could use a little bit more work, so I'm going to come back in after a break and darken it in, push the contrast a little bit more, and really kind of work out the details and show the fabric as well, kind of curving and coming in and darkening in those creases in the hand. You can't go too far. It's all right to be a little bit more dramatic and a little bit darker. In my opinion, that you kind of push it, because if you need to, you can come back and erase. But going too light isn't going to give it the kind of the oomph and the pop it needs to kind of come off the page. So this one I am doing, starting to sketch all in graphite, and then I'm going to come back and ink it up with my gray tone markers. And I started light and went mid grays, and now adding black, my dark gray. And really, what I'm looking here is just how I can show the different value tones, the range, but also doing it in a way where I can show the direction of the hand and all of its form, and the wrinkles in the hand, and how the hand folds. So that's really key, and showing that the dark allows me to curl those fingers in such a way that they can be foreshortened and still seem believable. All right, so the main thing is to start. Number one, sketch the main lines, the bones, the direction. Think about the proportions um, of the fingers to the palm. Think of the finger joints and the relative spacing of the joints on the fingers. So you can show that on the top side of the hand through kind of where the wrinkles are in each of our knuckles. Um, so this one I started with those bones, kind of creating the directions in each segment of the finger. Um, and then here now I'm filling out the shading, and I've added the contour line just for uh, dramatic purposes. But I'm actually considering now I'm going to go in and I'll come back in and darken the background, all the negative space, black, just to really get this one to pop because it's kind of light. And really come in and do that with ink. And so this is a little mixed media. I'm doing colored pencil, gray tone colored pencils on top of ink. And um, well, actually, this was just all colored pencil except for the black ink. So here I'm going to do this one in a subtractive method. So I laid in my gray pastel. You can use gray pastel or black pastel, uh, charcoal, compressed charcoal, vine charcoal, whatever you can find. You can even go in with graphite and lay it in, and so here I am pulling it away with the eraser, coming in and darkening those veins, uh, pulling out the highlights of the knuckles, trying to show, make this hand believable that the other two knuckles worth of fingers are hidden behind the first set of knuckles. So trying to kind of create a curve on those, and also that the thumb is kind of behind and back, and so creating that shadow in behind it, coming in and adding little details and really trying to play out all of these shadows that come into the texture of the hand, and showing those veins. And then finishing it up with just kind of cleaning up my background so it pops out a little bit more, a little darker on the dark side, a little lighter on the side of the direction where the light is coming. So that one was done all charcoal and the gray pastel. On the white, came in with some white pastel as well, just to bring out the highlights. So here's examples of what I'm looking for this week. So I'm looking for 8 hands total. 4 of them are going to be um, cross contour, like I showed early on. You can put all 4 on one page. And then I'm looking for you to do 4 more that are full tonal value range. And complete. You can even add in a little dark background like I did with the subtractive method. Um, and have fun with it, play with it. You can even go, if you photograph somebody else's hands, get both hands making a gesture, and then you can kind of save a little time on getting model. Or have someone photograph your hands, and if you do both hands doing some kind of gesture together, it can be really unique. And you might also want to try holding objects as well. And for your A2 drawing pad this week, I'm going to have you draw the skeleton. I'm going to have you draw it twice. The first time in cross contour, and then the second time with value shading. So these photos of the skeleton are available on Moodle. You can work from those. And so we'll start with the cross contour one. I kind of lay out a line and just try to get my proportions. I know that the head is 1/8 of the entire length of the body. The head is also 1/3 of its width. So there's 3 head widths um, wide and 8 head lengths long. And so go in and just kind of sketch out general shapes, and then I will come in and define those shapes, looking at all of the ribs and the curves of the ribs. Um, and so, make sure to include all of those come in and mark out all of the different joints, and try to replicate the shapes of each bone as much as possible. I know this is going to be kind of difficult your first try, so maybe do a couple experiments, like just exercises, kind of drawing it out first, because your very first time is going to be a little tricky. It's looking at the skeleton is um, kind of different than what we think of a human being. One thing that I often notice is that students don't make the arms long enough, but measure out your proportions, and so this is kind of the way it should be drawn. And then I'm going to do the same thing, draw out some lines. Here I'm looking at kind of a profile view of the skeleton, and so I lay it out really light and loose, and then I'm going to come back in and really define each of the bones and joints, and then also use some shading to really show the shape and form of the skeletal structure. I want you to fill the whole page, so make sure that you fill it from top to bottom. That's a good reason to kind of break it up into um, 8 different sections, um, and fit the head into the top section, come all the way down, um, and that's how you're going to get it to be proportional. Um, and so yeah, just adding a lot of shading in the end, and I even pull out some highlights, go back in and get those shadows so I can show the inside of the rib cage, um, and try your best. This is going to prepare us for drawing the figure next week.